Hey, what's up everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we are doing the Wood versus Warrington breakdown video. As Lee Wood, the once again WBA featherweight champion of the world, defends his title against former two-time featherweight champion Josh Warrington in an all-UK battle that takes place Saturday, October 7th on DAZN. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I try to build my channel up here. So, this breakdown video is a title fight. If you've seen my breakdown videos before, then you know in title fights, but in all fights, we talk about the fight and what it means first. And then we get into each fighter individually. In a title fight, we start with the champion and then go to the challenger. And we ask the same, we talk about what they've done coming into the fight. We ask the same questions on both sides about them. And then I say, is it better for boxing if one or the other wins? And then the final is my prediction on the fight. So let's jump in and let's talk about what this fight means for for both of these guys and for the featherweight division. And one, it's a huge bout for both these guys to fight. An all UK fight like this is kind of a dream fight. Well, not a dream fight, but they're both good featherweights with a strong pedigree, and they're going at it for the world title. That's a big deal. So it's a big deal, this fight, for the featherweight division and for both these guys, financially and in terms of where they stand. And to be fighting for a world title, in an all UK bout, it is kind of a dream fight for both guys. Because a lot rides on these kind of fights for them, money wise and everything else. So these guys really are trying to put themselves in the strongest position to continue the big fights, and to establish himself as the best. You got Lee Wood, 35 years old. He's kind of sitting right there along the top of the division right now. Right now this division is wide open, but I got him and Luis Alberto Lopez sitting at the top right now. And then you got Josh Warrington, who lost a razor-thin decision to Lopez last year, and is trying to reestablish himself as the top guy. He used to be the top guy in the featherweight division, but he's a guy that's not far off from being in your top 2 or 3. So this fight is very significant for the featherweight division. It's really going to separate the top UK fighter, but also really going to put one of these guys sitting there at the top, setting themselves up for bigger fights down the road. And for the loser, if it's a close one, I think the loser, it kind of sets up the same thing. So let's start off now with the, once again, two-time featherweight champion Lee Wood, and take a look at him coming into this fight. Well, he's coming into this fight coming off if it's not the biggest win of his career, it's one of the biggest wins. And his last 3 fights date back to last year in March, when he stopped Michael Conlon, was down on the scorecards, and stormed back, put Conlon through the ropes in the 11th round, and then finished him off. Actually put him down in the 11th round, and then put him through the ropes and knocked him out in the 12th round, impressively, in a fight that if it went to the scorecards, he was going to lose. And Lee Wood just continued to stalk Conlon and broke him down and knocked him out, and scored the biggest win of his career at the time, as he retained the WBA regular title. Then earlier this year in February, he squared off against Mauricio Lara for the defending the title, and that now he was the full throttle champion. And he was winning on the scorecards, and he had a similar thing happen to him except earlier in the fight, he got dropped hard by a left hook against the power punching Lara in the 7th round, and then, you know, got up, but his corner would throw in the towel, as he was badly hurt, and his corner didn't want to see him take any more. So he had an automatic rematch clause in the contract, and in May, he returned to fight Lara again, but Lara missed weight and missed it by a bunch, to where he was stripped of the title, and Lara the title would still go on the line, but it was vacant, and it would not be eligible for Lara. The fight would go forward, and Leigh Wood would completely outbox Lara in the second fight, outwork him to a convincing decision, and regain the WBA title. So he's got a lot of confidence, knowing that in a matter of about 19 rounds with Lara, he pretty clearly outboxed him and outclassed him. So, you know, all that being said, again, he's hungry. He's 35, but he was kind of a late to the party, you know, in terms of when he sprouted. And now he's just trying to take advantage of every and all opportunities that he has. And taking on Josh Warrington is probably financially the biggest fight of his career. He might be going into it viewing it as the biggest fight of his career anyways, because he's finally established himself, and so is Warrington. So I think he's ready, he's willing, and he's coming in pretty hungry. Now, what kind of style, what does he need to do to win this fight against Josh Warrington? Well, these guys are dead even on their height and their reach. They're 5'7" with a 67-inch reach on both ends. So there's no height or reach advantage. It's really going to be a matter of who has the most in the tank down the stretch. And, you know, Leigh Wood, he's been more active, even though he's the older fighter by 3 years. He's been more active than Josh Warrington has. And, you know, in his last 3 fights, they've went 31 rounds. So he's not a big knockout guy, you know. So he's gonna go into the deep waters, and I think he needs to count on just having that more stamina in the later rounds. But he also needs to win some of the early rounds too. Just beat Warrington to the punch, and that's going to be interesting to see who can do that in this fight. So I think he needs to move. They have similar kind of styles, but Leigh Wood has been a very, very good boxer in his biggest wins, and I think he just needs to be first and beat Warrington to the punch. And I think he'll be successful that way. So, you know, that's my advice that's what I think he needs to do to win the fight. Now, can Leigh Wood win this fight by knockout? I think he can. I just don't think it's likely, given the fact that he's not a big power puncher. Warrington's always taken a good punch. You know, he's only been knocked out by Lara, and I really think, you know, this is a 12-round type fight. But do I think he has the power and he can break down Warrington or knock him out at any moment, like hurt him badly? I do. Do I think he can win a decision? I do think he can win a decision. I don't know if either guy can blow the other guy out of the water, like win a decisive decision, but I do think Wood can win a decision over Warrington. What does a win mean for Leigh Wood? I think it puts a nice bow on his career. I think that's what Leigh Wood at 35 is kind of looking at. Like, I really want to put a nice bow, get a nice victory. Maybe it sets up a rematch. Maybe it sets up a showdown with Joe Cordina at 130 next year. But for Wood at 35, I think it'd be nice, because we know a mandatory's looming against, I can't remember the guy's name, but he's like 11-0 with 10 knockouts. So does Leigh Wood really want to fight a guy like that after defeating Josh Warrington? He might just be ready to give up that belt and fight Warrington in a rematch, or go after Luis Alberto Lopez for his title, or move up to 130 for a big fight with Cordina in another all UK battle. I think that's what he's going for, and I think a win over Warrington just kind of allows him to just really do what he wants going forward. Absolutely what he wants. So that's why I think this one's important to Leigh Wood, to go out on top, to set himself up for his final few fights of his pro career. What does a loss mean for Leigh Wood? Depends on how he loses. If he loses a close decision, I think these two guys could fight again. Or he's still in a pretty good spot to get other opportunities. But if he loses badly, that could really hurt him. It really could. It could take him down a few notches. He could really be viewed as a guy, I don't have to fight that guy. You know, he just got his ass whipped against Warrington. So it could hurt him if he gets his ass whipped, but I don't know. For some reason, I don't see an ass whipping in this one. But hey, we'll get to that in a little bit. So let's switch over to the challenger, the former two-time champion, Josh Warrington. Look at what he's done coming into this fight. So his last 3 fights date back to September of 21, where he fought Mauricio Lara in a rematch, and they fought to a 2-round no contest. He had been brutally knocked out beat up and knocked out against Lara 7 months prior, and they got the rematch, and he was, you know, they were mixing it up again, and then a bad cut was opened up over Lara's eye, caused a no contest to happen, and so that was only a 2-round fight. Then his next fight would be in 2022 when he challenged Kiko Martinez for the IBF title, and that was a rematch from their I want to say they fought way back in 2017 in a contenders bout, or 2018, and Warrington scored a very close, somewhat controversial majority decision win. This time around, you know, Kiko was coming off an upset knockout win over Kid Galahad, and Josh Warrington just dominated Kiko in this one, stopping him in 6 rounds as he captured 6 or 7 rounds as he captured the IBF title for his 2nd time. And then in his last bout, it was in December of last year when he fought Luis Alberto Lopez, and he lost a close majority decision and lost the IBF title. That was a mandatory fight. So he hasn't fought since then, so it's going to be a 9-month layoff in between fights. And he's only fought a total of about 20 rounds in the last 2 calendar years, so he hasn't been as active, and that could be the difference in this fight. And he's also coming off of a loss. In his last 4 fights, he's 1-2 with 1 no contest. So he's coming into this one really in need of a victory. You know, he did close the fight out with Lopez strong. I thought he was losing I had him losing like along the lines of like a 7-2 after 9 rounds, or 7-1 after 8 rounds, and he really closed that fight strong with Lopez and really showed a lot of heart down the stretch. But he still lost. He is I think he's very hungry for this shot at Leigh Wood. Trying to become a 3-time world champion is a big deal. I think he's viewing it as like a kind of a last hurrah type thing, you know, and it's an all UK battle, so he knows that he needs to get this victory in order to kind of seal himself as one of the, you know, a true big name UK great kind of deal. Now, what does he need to do to win this fight? Well, it's going to be tough, but he definitely needs to have the stamina for the second half like he did against Lopez. So training hard and coming in good shape is really going to help. I just think he needs to, almost the same thing as Leigh Wood, he needs to beat Wood to the punch. Because Wood has done a good job, and is a very good job in his last 3 fights of boxing and punching. You know, and Josh Warrington needs to figure out a way to beat him in that category. They both have the same height, same reach, so this is a very, very intriguing battle, down the middle type battle. Now, Can Josh Warrington win this fight by knockout? The only way I see him winning by knockout in this one is if he breaks down Lee Wood and stops him in the late rounds. You know, you never know when a 35-year-old fighter, even if he's fighting at the top of his game, coming off a big win, you never know when he finally gets old. So, is this the fight? Can he figure out a way to outwork Lee Wood? Then, you know, that's the way I see him winning this fight by knockout if he can. But I do think it's a long shot. Can he win a decision? I think Warrington can win a decision here. I do. I think he has the capability, the skill set, the style. You know, he's been there, done that. I do believe he can win this fight by knockout. By a decision. What does a win mean for Josh Warrington? It's big. It kind of similar. It ties a nice bow on his career because Warrington sprouted about 5-6 years ago is when he sprouted and became a big deal. And he was sitting at the top of the division for quite a while. So to get a big UK win here and become a 3-time world champion, he can really do the same thing as I said with Lee Wood and really dictate the terms of his fights going forward in a much better, more controlling way. He can fight Lee Wood again. He can move up and fight Cordina to try to become a 2-division champ. You know, there's options there with a solid victory. Now, what does a loss mean for Josh Warrington? Well, a loss really, to have his 3rd loss in 5 fights, you know, and only have 1 win in 5 fights, that's not good. That really will, I think, show that Warrington is maybe a glorified gatekeeper. You know, of course it depends on how he loses, but I really believe he's coming into this one more of the underdog, even though it's an evenly based fight. And I can see it going either way, but I like Lee Wood, and I like Warrington, and I think this is a very intriguing battle for him, but a loss would hurt. So, is it better for boxing if Lee Wood or Josh Warrington wins this fight? And to be honest, I think it's a wash. I don't think it matters either way. Lee Wood is entertaining. He's not as well known worldwide, but he's been fun to watch, and he's been hungry and aggressive his last few fights. Josh Warrington is the younger guy, so you might say, well, Warrington's younger, so it'd be better if he won. Yes, to an extent, but no, because he sprouted earlier on than Lee Wood did, and I think they're both kind of at the same crossroads. If anything, Warrington's been around a little bit longer. He's probably looking to cash out a little bit sooner. So for me, I don't believe, I believe it's a wash, and it's good for boxing either way if either guy wins this fight, especially if it sets up a rematch. And finally, what's my prediction for the Lee Wood, Josh Warrington WBA Featherweight title fight that takes place on October 7th? It's hard to choose. I do think it could go either way, but based on their recent fights, I just think Lee Wood has more. I think he has more. I think he's hungrier, and he's shown me more in these last 3 fights alone. Going in the underdog, in my opinion, in all 3 encounters. Actually, his last 4 fights, if you date it back to the Shu Can fight, he's been the underdog, and he surprised me even in his lone defeat in those 4 fights. He has surprised me with his performance. You know, I didn't think he could dominate Mauricio Lara the way he did in that first fight before he got knocked out. I didn't believe in the rematch he was going to dominate him over 12 rounds, and he did it. Michael Conlan, I thought he would be completely outboxed and outworked, and he did just enough to be able to finish Conlan in the late rounds to retain the title. And then against Shu Can, you know, the hunger, the desire, the way he was well ahead on the scorecards and he went after Can in the 12th round and stopped him, that was impressive. Lee Wood is impressive and has been. And Josh Warrington, I just don't know if the fire's there as much as it used to, although he's had signs of it. Stopping Kiko Martinez the way he did and closing the fight with Luis Alberto Lopez the way he did, almost winning, that was impressive. So I really believe this is going to be a good-ass fight. I think it's going to be a good enough fight to set up a rematch. or, you know, set up a rematch, or at the very least, we're going to see the winner move up and fight Cordina, hopefully. But good things are going to happen from this and the winner, and maybe this is the start of a trilogy to come, or at least 2 good-ass fights. We'll see what happens Saturday, October 7th on DAZN. This was the Wood versus Warrington breakdown video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.